All right, we're going to get started. We have a few people on, a few people that are still hopping on. Um, Hang on. Okay, so hello. I am I didn't do slides. I'm kind of all over the place, but I do have some things to share. So this will potentially be a pretty short meeting, maybe 20 minutes. Because I know that everybody is just kind of overwhelmed and busy. I wanted to kick it off with some market stats, which I'm not going to show you. I'm just going to tell you. Um, Market is low. Market is soft. Market is strange. Whatever your words are that you use to describe a shitty market, fill in the blank. The market is fucked. Okay. Um, our numbers are incredibly low, and yet we're number 30 out of 198 brokerages. And so when I'm like, we're barely moving any real estate as a group, and yet we're moving more than 160 other brokerages, that's a little scary. It's like, yeah, it's a little scary. It's like saying I've got the best grade in the class and it's a D. But yay, I'm winning for my class. So it is a bit frightening that the market is this soft. Grab you in a minute, Mark. But that's where we are, and it's going to be a real a do or die. This is the kind of market where we lose agents because they have to go back to a full-time job because this isn't what I signed up for. I thought I was going to make money. So it's really a kind of a test, kind of the test of perseverance. Like if you're just kind of launching and you can survive through this, everything else is going to be gravy down the road because you're starting at a really hard time. For some people who started, they got their license because the market was so hot. All you had to do is have your license and boom, you sold a house. Those people are now going back to other jobs because they got in, it was easy. And when it got not easy, they're like, well, that's not really what I signed up for. So I don't want to do this. So it's a test. This is a test. You can look at it one of two ways. You can look at it as, well, this is bullshit. I don't want to do this. And that's okay. A lot of people are doing that, not in our brokerage, but across the industry. And honestly, for those who are in it to win it, it's a good thing. I always call it the culling of the herd. It's easy, so easy to get a real estate license. The class is not overly expensive or overly difficult. You can take it and take it and take it and fail it and fail it and fail it until you pass it. If you want a real estate license and you are of minimal intelligence in the state of Washington, you can get one. So we have a lot of competition. And when things get hard and people that thought it was easy start dropping off, I like it. I mean, it makes it like, okay, now just the real players are going to stay in. The real players are going to stay in, and that's good. It's good. So, shitty market, not good. Dabblers getting out of the market, very good.
Yep.
Mark, you had your little icon-y hand up. What did you want to throw in?
Yeah, quick comment, and then the original question. It's a thinning of the herd. We're thinning the herd.
Yep.
Unfortunately, yeah, I came in at probably the worst time. But let's see what I can do. Either I fail, sink or swim. That's fine. My question was, you quoted that stat, Shanna, about 30. We're number 30 out of 100 something brokerages as far as volume. Is that what you said? Volume? Is that based on? Can you dive into that a little bit more, just so I can
Sure.
understand what you're
Sure.
saying?
Those numbers are
Stat
from the
or,
R from the
profit.
R MLS.
I don't
So
care.
it's not counting anything we did in the Northwest MLS. It's looking at sold, closed, Clark County only RMLS. And so far in 2025, 198 brokerages have done business. There are more brokerages than 198. Some of them have not done business yet in 2025. So
Wow.
198 brokerages have done business in 2025. And out of that 198, we are number 30. And it
We are
is
number 30 as far as volume.
dollars.
Okay.
Yeah. And it doesn't, the stats, the market stats do not differentiate between a brokerage that sold 110 manufactured homes versus a brokerage that sold 4 multi-million-dollar listings. It goes by the volume number of money, bottom line. I can tell you how many units because it breaks it down, but it ranks based on that volume, total volume of sales. And I will
Okay.
tell you, for the month of February, we dropped out of the top 30. We were number 37 in sales for the month of February, which would now be our March ranking because we won't know what we did in March until April 1st. But for year to date 2025, we're number 30.
But we're also we're comparing ourselves to bigger
Keller
brokers
Williams,
as well, right?
EXP, Keller Williams, new home builders like Lennar and New Traditions. Anybody that has a brokerage license in Clark County is included in that number. So that's where the stat comes from. We are generally usually in the top 30, which is where I like to stay. And the people ahead of us are usually big dogs with big corporate backing and a market share that is hard to compete with, hundreds of agents. So we are still and continue to be the little brokerage that could, and I like it that way. I'm not trying to have 200 agents and sign on with ERA, but I think the moral of the story is if you think that you're doing really poorly, just be aware that the whole market is doing poorly and we're still doing well. Like I said, it's like having the best grade in the class, but I got a D. There is some comfort there that I got the best grade in the class, but I'm still not getting into an Ivy League with a D. So that is where we are stats wise. I am going to, does anybody have any comments or questions about the market topic? If not, I'm going to have Angela unmute. If you are a student of the market and a market expert, you probably saw the news yesterday about the Feds deciding to hold steady. So, Angela, in fourth grade terms, can you tell us what that means?
So good morning, everybody. They were projecting that they weren't going to cut rates. They were deeming that there's no reason to cut rates at this time. So the Feds have a dual mandate. For those of you who don't know, they're supposed to control inflation and watch the jobs market. They seem to think the jobs market's okay, and I'm not exactly sure how they're not taking into account. I think everybody's seen on the news about all these mass firings, so I'm a little confused about that part when it comes to government workers. But side note, they, as projected, they did not change the rates, and so we were not surprised by that. They did, however, make comments about what they see in the future, and they did say that they were going to stop or they were going to start buying treasuries in April. So to bring that into terms that we can all relate to, what does it mean for the Feds to buy treasuries, and why did the market respond favorably yesterday and we saw rates go down? Now, when I say rates go down, we didn't go down like a whole point, so don't get too excited. They're headed in the right direction. I think most people saw a quarter point change, but any news is good news in this market. I think we can all agree. But so if the Feds are going to start buying treasuries, that's equivalent to you having a credit card with $1,000 limit on it. You go buy something at, I'll say Macy's. I don't know who still shops there, but Macy's, and you decide that you don't like it and you return it, and then you use the credit from your return, you go out and buy more. So it's stimulating the economy. So stimulating the economy is what they're trying to do. So rates responded favorably. We're still seeing it continue to be favorable. They announced that they're probably going to be projecting to cut rates 2 more times this year, which is what they've been projecting. So people are feeling a little bit better, but to everybody's point, everybody's kind of in this freeze. When people don't know what to do, they either fight or they flee or they freeze. And so from what I can see, most people are freezing right now. So if you need some help trying to get your buyers off the fence or your sellers off the fence, I'd be happy to help out. But that's kind of what happened yesterday. And you're on mute, Shanna.
A little off topic, but similar in, again, fourth grader terms. Tell us how what the Feds dictate impacts the mortgage rate. Because when the Feds say they're dropping rates, that doesn't mean Evergreen Home Loans just dropped their rates.
Right.
We're doing
So,
there's a formula. Tell us about that.
Well, so we look at the 10-year note is what affects the mortgage rates. So they're called mortgage-backed securities. MBS is what you'll see it called. So mortgage rates, since they're long term, they're usually 15 or 30 year. We are looking at a different indicator. The Feds are doing the overnight rate, how much it costs for banks to borrow overnight between each other. So it's two separate pots of money, but it will influence depending on what they're doing based off of if we think it's going to be inflationary or not. Because somebody who's lending money for 30 years, if they think that inflation is going to be runaway and 8, 9, 10%, they don't want to have their money locked up if they lend out $10,000 today and that $10,000 is going to be worth 7,000, at the end. They have to be compensated for that risk. So that's why there's not a direct correlation between what the Feds do in terms of lowering rates and what mortgage rates are. What we're looking at, and the reason why mortgage rates are affected, is based off of what they say in the meetings, to kind of give a hint of where they think the market's going and what they're going to be doing to either cause inflation or reduce inflation. So that's why there's a response. Is that fourth grade?
Yeah, that helps. And I think it helps to recognize for most Americans, your mortgage is the biggest money you'll ever spend. Your home, it's your biggest investment, your biggest expense. Nowhere else in your middle-class American life are you walking around talking about dropping $500,000, $600,000. It's always, it's your biggie. It's the biggie for most of your clients.
Mm-hmm.
And when people hear the word rates and they hear the Feds and the rates, they assume that means mortgage rates because that's the most important rate that they know about. Nobody is really watching the rates to see if their savings account is going to yield more because those days are gone. We don't earn money on savings accounts anymore. So when you have clients that are saying, tell me what's going on with the rates, I saw it in the news, it's really helpful to have just a 2-sentence script in your back pocket to explain the difference between what the Feds do and what the housing market does. So if that's something you want to dig like a little deeper into, Angela is really good at helping you kind of craft that into your own words of when somebody says, "Oh yeah, you're in real estate. I saw the feds talking about the rates yesterday. What's going on?"
So just where it's going to affect people, because you want to give them credit for what they have learned. So if they're hearing that the Fed rates have gone down, it's like, yeah, that's going to be great for your auto loan and for your credit cards. But if you're looking to buy a house, don't go out and get a car because
Yeah.
it's going to screw things up. So
Anybody have questions about mortgage rates or interest rates or Fed proclamations for Angela? Yeah,
No, but that was an awesome breakdown, Angela. Thank you.
jump in, Mark.
Angela, just to kind of summarize, I'm very new to this industry. So just to summarize what you're saying, if I heard you correctly, are interest rates, because you mentioned them being, if I understood correctly, tied to inflationary expectations. So do I hear you, am I understanding or interpreting this correctly that it's based that interest rates come down when inflationary pressures come down, like the rate
or
of
are you, so when you
inflation
say interest rates,
year
are
over
you
year
discussing mortgage rates?
being lowered? Like there's less stimulus going into our economy, so inflation comes down. Am I kind of following? Am I following you that?
So if inflation goes down, that helps mortgage rates. If the economy goes, and pardon my language, if the economy goes into the shitter, it's really good for mortgage rates. So when Trump said that he was going to bring down interest rates and mortgage rates, and people voted for that, that he is doing exactly what he said he was going to do. So the way to bring down mortgage rates is basically to crash the economy or to make things happen. So if people are afraid to spend money, that means that inflation goes down. If people don't have jobs, that means that the unemployment goes up. So all those factors go into mortgage rates, and then also other rates for auto loans and whatever. So the worse things get, the better it is for mortgage rates. So it's this really weird dichotomy. Because from a mortgage standpoint, I do want the economy to kind of slow down so that mortgage rates get better. But then on the flip side, people still have to have jobs to be able to afford to buy houses. It's complicated. You're correct to look a little okay. Does that help?
Yeah, I think I think that does help.
It's a double-edged sword.
Maybe we'll have a conversation
Yeah.
offline and
Yeah.
get a little bit better understanding. I appreciate your explanation.
Yeah, it is not easy conversation points here. And so one of the things we want to do, like I said, I'm a big scripter, is have a concise answer in your back pocket, because for me, the place where I get in trouble is when I am fumbling on the spot for an answer that I don't know. And I just start talking. Never turns out well. So you really want to have a short, concise answer for these types of things. Otherwise, you're going to talk yourself into a hole.
And one thing that I will add that I usually, when I'm first meeting with clients to pre-approve them, and it sounds kind of weird, but it's true. You know, I could care less what the sales price is and what the interest rates are. Can you afford the monthly payment? It's kind of like an auto loan. Like the rest is really irrelevant. You're only paying for that house once. You're having to make the mortgage payment month in and month out to keep it.
Yeah,
So
what's 30
it's
times 12? How many payments is that? It's a fucking lot of payments.
a lot of payments. And so you almost have to, and Anthony, I think he knows when it comes to auto sales, you focus on the monthly payment, correct? Um,
You should, but yeah, I'll not talk about my short stint in auto sales. Worst fucking job I ever had in my life.
yeah. But that is what we qualify people on, is we don't qualify people on the price of the home. We don't qualify them based on the interest rates. We qualify them, can they afford the monthly payment? And so, and then if they're comfortable with
All right, if you want to talk more about that and get some, just kind of do a deeper dive or get a better understanding, text Angela, call Angela. I do not steer realtors to lenders. There are a lot of lenders that you can choose to work with. In my opinion, Angela's the best one, but that's everybody's own personal opinion. And Angela is the person who is our brokerage partner. That does not mean you are obligated to send your clients to Angela, but it means that even if you don't, she'll still be nice and answer your questions and help you. So she's a huge asset for us. A couple things that came up in real life recently that I wanted to just kind of touch on, and I did share it in the think tank, some information about love letters. Love letters, when a buyer says, oh, I'm going to write a letter to the seller so that they pick me. Oregon, and I might not have this, I have it right, but I might say some of the things off. Somebody in Oregon said, that's not fair. We're going to make a rule. You can't do it. I think that was somebody in the real estate realm. It could have been the Oregon Association of Realtors or under them, one of the local associations. But they said, let's make a rule. No more love letters. And the state of Oregon then came in and said, you can't tell people they can't write a letter. So that is not a rule. So it is a preference, but it is not a rule. And the agent who was asking me if her client could write a love letter actually thought it was a law. She says, oh no, they changed the law in Oregon. You can't write letters. That is not true. It's not a law and it's not even a rule. It is the preference of the National Association of Realtors. So that's number one. Everybody on this call is a member of the National Association of Realtors. You are to abide by their code of ethics and their in-house rules, but it's not a rule. So you can write love letters. This applies to Oregon and Washington. The rules are they cannot violate fair housing. And so I posted an article from NAR that gave bullet points of what is a violation of fair housing. So that is something that you can share with a buyer who says, I'm going to write a letter. You could share that article with them and say, these are the rules that this is fair housing. You're welcome to write a letter. Try to keep these things in mind. So I did that with this agent and she shared that with her clients. And then they wrote a letter that violated the rules of fair housing in very subtle ways where some people might say, okay, we're just being too PC. This is over the top. This is ridiculous. Everything is triggering. Okay, if that is your thought, that is totally fine thought. But I mean, they wrote in their letter, we can envision we're engaged, soon to be married, and we can envision raising our family in your home. That violates the rules of fair housing because whether you're married or not, and whether you have kids or not, cannot legally impact your ability to rent or buy a home. So a landlord or a seller should not prefer you because you're married or because you have kids. Can a landlord or a seller prefer you because you have two incomes? Absolutely. Can I personally, in my duplex, prefer somebody to be next door who doesn't have children? I personally can. Can I weed through the applications to take somebody who doesn't have children? Probably not. In some cases, I can. If I live there, if it's the only rental I own, etc. I'm not here to talk about property management, but the fact that We had a really smart, well-educated agent who said, I don't know what to do. My client wants to write a love letter, and I know that's illegal, is what brought this to the forefront. Did you want to say something, Rob? I saw you unmute.
Yeah, what I've done in the past is when I'm touring a home, I look for commonalities that are outside fair housing. Like if I know my clients show dogs or are big dog people, and I see a dog bowl and dog water in the kitchen, I'll have them write in a love letter. You know, we after we toured your house, we went and saw the dog park down the road. You know, and so I look for commonalities outside of fair housing that will help connect the buyer and the seller.
Yeah, as a buyer's agent, you want to give your buyer every advantage in a multiple offer situation. But the other thing that NAR is really specific about is as an agent, you should not advise a love letter. It should not be your idea and you say, hey, you should write a letter about the dog park. It is if your client says, I want to write a letter, then you tell them, okay, here are the rules for writing a letter. Jump in, Angela.
I remember when this was coming to light, and a listing agent had said, I never present the love letters.
Yep. I had an
And
agent that I shared an office with. I was a baby agent. She was approximately 107 years old and still hand wrote everything in her offers because computers were going to mess up the industry. And she told me that. That was her advice to me. Oh, if my clients write a letter, I just take it and throw it in the garbage. Okay. No,
Yeah.
Ina, you can't do that.
but
That's
the
illegal.
listing agent isn't required to show what they're
So
giving.
she, as a buyer's agent, was throwing them in the garbage.
Oh,
And as a listing agent, if she received them, would throw them in the garbage.
mhm.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
What you can do is have a conversation with your seller in advance. Sometimes people want to write a personal letter to kind of tug at the heartstrings. If anybody writes them, do you want to see it?
Mhm. So what this listing agent did is she let them pick who they wanted, and then they opened up the love letter after they made their selection so that it wasn't deemed. But it seems to me,
Yeah.
to Rob's point, better to just focus on the characteristics of the home. Like I appreciated the daffodils blooming, and I'm an avid gardener and will take good care of
Exactly.
everything that you've done to the property to maintain its floral.
Yeah, and honestly, that's probably more impactful in that person's relationship with the home is those personal things that they've done to the home and to see them appreciated by somebody. But yeah, so just keep all of that info in your back pocket. You can download the letter, the rule, the guidelines from NAR and share it with clients. And you might add that to your listing presentation as part of your talk with your sellers is if they write a letter, do you want to read it? Because you cannot make that decision. If it is handed to you, you are obligated to include it unless you have pre-discussed it and your seller says, I don't want to see them. Oh, go ahead, Mark.
Is that, oh,
Nope. Did we lose you? Okay. Mark's frozen, so we'll let him get back on. But one more thing.
Hang on, sorry.
Okay.
Mark's computer died and I was still muted and had my speaker off. Go ahead.
hey, oh, sorry. The question is, do we have to, if they say, hey, we don't want to see them, or we're working on the fly here. Should we have that in writing? Should we have something on a record saying, well, you know, my seller said they don't want to see those letters. So when the letter,
I would even, and I talk about this a lot.
okay.
Anything that you discuss verbally, and then you feel like, I wish I had that in writing, you follow up with an email saying, hey, as we discussed, I will not be conveying the letters to you. And then you've got it in email but that shows that it was sent, documenting it. So you don't have to write it in your listing contract per se, or try to get like a formal signed around agreement. But
Yeah.
I always document that kind of stuff as a follow-up. Even when I have conversations with other agents about a deal and they say, okay, well, I'm going to talk to my seller and we'll do X, Y, and Z. And I've got it verbal. I then send the email saying, hey, thanks for taking my call. As we discussed, you're going to ask the seller X, Y, and Z. Let me know how it goes. Because then I've got it documented. Because then when that agent never goes to their seller and makes my buyer's request and then says, well, I never said I was going to do that, you've got a little bit of a paper trail. So you always want to create a paper trail if you can.
Okay, so best practice after meetings and phone calls that are significant in any form or fashion to a transaction, email follow-up,
Yep.
bullet point, whatever, just summarize the conversation, whether it's in
Yep.
person or on the phone. And that way you got, okay, got it. Thank you.
Go
So
ahead,
what
Rob.
so what I just started doing, and this lends really well with it, is they actually have these AI microphones that I take on listing appointments. And because Washington's a two-party state, I'm like, hey, my AI assistant's going to be taking notes, and then afterwards, it transcribes it. I run it through AI and just say remove all small talk and redundancies, and give me a breakdown of the conversation. I then email that to them. And it makes me look really good, like, gosh, he's really on top of it. He paid attention to everything. And then that could be uploaded to your Skyslope. I just started doing it, and it has really, really like helped my listing presentations.
That's awesome. I'm looking at my phone to tell you the name of an app because I found an app that does the same thing. It's an AI note taker on your phone. So you don't have a microphone. You just say, my AI assistant is going to transcribe this. I'm looking for the name of it out of my 950.
Because the phones are always listening.
Yeah. I think it's called iRecord, like a small I, capital R record. And then you can do the same thing. You can tell it to take out small talk or to put it in paragraph form or to put it in two-party form where it'll do you, them, you, them. So yes, these are great tools and we live in the future. We don't have
Yeah.
our flying cars, but we have AI assistants and that's pretty sweet.
Yeah. So seriously, get one or get that app, practice with it, and use it on a listing appointment. It really makes you look top notch.
And remember what he said first thing of this. Washington is a two-party state. You cannot voice record somebody without their permission. Period. The end. Hard stop. You cannot voice record somebody, even if it's on your phone and you're having a conversation and you're recording it. You cannot record somebody's voice. You can video record them walking through the house. You don't need to have consent for your Ring doorbell, but you cannot audio record.
Do you know how many times I would have loved to have that after an argument with my ex-husband to say that's not what I said?
So
So true.
even if you cannot record if, so Robert, like when you initiate contact over the telephone with a client or potential client,
Yeah.
you notify them that, hey, I'm using AI assistants to record this call so we can summarize, right?
Yeah, they have some for the phone. I usually do it when I go and meet them at the house and
Okay.
do a walkthrough, and I talk about the whole process, beginning to end, when I break down the inspection, appraisal, everything. And that way, because I'm throwing so much at them, that it's really good to have that as a reference that they can go back and look. And it's also kind of a CYA, like, you never said that. Well, actually I did, and I sent it to you.
Yeah.
So it's really so yeah, I just reserve it for in-person meetings.
And now,
But
thanks, Robert. A question back to Shanna. if we're just recording, so let's say we're recording the phone call so we can just go back over and summarize, like listen to the phone call after the phone call's ended, do we have to still tell them, hey, I'm going to record this call so I can go back and
You're supposed to. You're supposed to ask for
Yeah.
consent before you audio record anybody for anything. Now, if I don't know you recorded me and you go back and take notes for your own review, do I know? Do I care?
right, and then delete the recording.
But if it comes down to it needs to be disclosed, or you're going to use that as a point of, oh no, I actually did tell you that and I recorded it, then I'm going to say, what do you mean you recorded it? I don't remember giving my permission to be recorded. So
Okay.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
one of those, yeah.
iPhones will actually in the notepad app will actually not notepad, but you can actually now record phone calls with iPhone, and when you hit it, it will say now recording or something like
Just
that.
like this Zoom does, as soon as
Yeah.
it makes everybody, even if somebody were to log in right now, late for the Zoom, the voice would say, this meeting is being recorded.
Yeah.
It's a required disclosure.
Yeah, so yeah, right in the phone call, you can hit record. I think it's in the upper left-hand corner. Then afterwards, you access it in the Notepad app.
No, it's transparency. You don't want to
Yep.
be recording people. Like it's creepy and weird. Okay. Love letters. That was my take on love letters. And the reason we were even talking about love letters is because it was a multiple offer situation, which we are seeing more of now in the lower under 450-ish homes. There aren't that many of them out there, and everybody wants them. Another agent, not the love letter agent, but this is again another thing that just recently happened. She had the listing, she listed it. She had a buyer who said, I really like this one. Can I see it? And she had a sign call that said, I don't have an agent. Will you show it to me? So now she's the listing agent and she has two buyers that want to write offers on her listing. Please help me wrap my head around how you're going to do that in an unbiased way.
Refer out one of them.
Refer out one of them, refer out both of them.
Yep.
And it would be very, very difficult to remain unbiased because what was her first and primary job in this situation? She's the listing agent who should be trying to get her seller the best offer, whether that is specific terms they want, or it's the highest price, or it's no inspection. She is privy to that knowledge of what is important to them. That immediately creates an advantage for her buyer because Anthony doesn't know that the most important thing to Rob about this whole deal is that they get a long rent back. He doesn't know that. So he's going to write his highest and best offer, but I know I'm going to write an average offer with a really good rent back. So you cannot take information out of your brain. If you know it, you know it. And dual agency is very tricky in these situations. And it's not illegal. It's not unethical. You are able to represent both the buyer and the seller, but I'm telling you, it is not easy. And if you are the average agent, you shouldn't do it. You shouldn't do it. It costs us more money on E&O insurance. Like every year we have to tell them how many times we did dual agency and they raise our rate if we do too much dual agency because they're like, because that's a liability. It's a risk. We don't like covering it. So I do not have a brokerage policy saying you can't do dual agency. I have done dual agency in the past and it was wildly successful. There are ways to do it, but there are certain situations in which you should have enough foresight to know there is no way I'm going to keep everybody happy. When I did dual agency, I had a seller selling her dad's house. It was a purely financial transaction. She had no emotional attachment. She gave me a number. She's like, if I can get this number, I am going to be happy. I said, okay, here are the comps. I think you could actually get a little more than that. She's like, I don't want to be on the market forever. You're saying I could get 450, but if I can get 400, I would take it and go. Is it at that point okay for me to say, well, I've got a pre-qualified 400K buyer who would take it right now?
What I would do in that situation is put it in writing and have her sign it that says, I, as a seller, understand that I can get more for this house in the open market. However, I am choosing to accept a lower offer out of convenience.
Yeah.
And then make them full signature and date.
And I did not do that, but I did have her sign my CMA where I put, here's what I think you could get. And I had her sign that. And I put that in the file. So that in the future, I could say, well, I told you we should shoot for 450 when you sell it for 400, and then circle back and say, why didn't I get more? So I had her sign that. But in this situation, I mean, the most important thing to her was get it sold today. Now, what is my duty to my buyer? My duty to my buyer is to get them the best deal I can. So if I am working with that same seller and I know she wants 400, and I'm like, but honestly, I would have sold it for 380. Well, then I'm being disingenuous if I say to my buyer, grab it at 400, it's a steal. Because now I'm violating my duty to that buyer. But again, in this situation, I'm like, 400 is a freaking steal. I would buy it as a rental if I could get in there myself. And so I say, hey, if you want to take it, 400, no negotiation. And they're not gonna do anything on inspection either. You can have an inspection, but I'm just telling you, 400 is the bottom line. Do you want it? They're like, hell yeah. Okay, then I did dual agency. I didn't feel like I've had it was just an odd situation knowing exactly what the seller wanted. And so she kind of relieved me a little bit of my obligation of bring in as many offers as you can to get the highest price. She is the one who's like, nope, just sell it now. If I can get that, I walk. So like in a situation like that, dual agency was fine. It could have circled back a year later, like Rob is saying, get it in writing, because a year later, when she's talking to her aunt and says, yeah, I got 400 for dad's house, and her aunt says, 400, that house is worth 6. You got screwed. And she comes back around and is like, why did we sell it so cheap? Documentation. I told you we should go for more. You wanted to go fast. So multiple offers is where I was going. But yeah, so dual agency is a whole separate issue, and we could do a whole CEU class on dual agency. But right now, so on that listing that I was just talking about with this agent who now she's the listing agent and she's got 2 buyers, and it was a multiple offer situation. She ended up with 17 offers, her 2 plus 15 more. And she was very grateful that her 2 weren't even competitive once the other ones started going in. So she ended up not doing dual agency. But this is an agent who's an experienced agent. She has done dual agency before. And then that kind of created this for her. She was like, I don't know what I would have done if one of my offers was the best one, because that would have been weird. I would have had 15 agents watching to say, okay, my client didn't get it, but your own client did. Let me watch this like a hawk. So just something to put in your mind about dual agency. Another case where I did dual agency in a multiple offer situation is my son's house. I had a listing and my son bought the house. Again, it was kind of an arm's reach sell. Like I had a client who was just like, I'm selling this house. It's my mom's house. We're moving her out to live with us out of town. Just sell it. Just sell it.
Yep.
And I did all the things because I really didn't know if my son was serious. So I didn't just say, hey, you should look at this house, but we did the listing photos. We did open houses. This is 5 years ago. Tabitha still has clients from that open house. Frank's, Rocky's house. Remember, Betsy? It was like, it had insanely good open house traffic for some reason. So, he was interested and we got multiple offers. I put the offers into a blind spreadsheet and told my seller, one of these offers is my kid. And my seller, who is actually at this point a good friend of mine, this was many years ago, was like, well, just sell it to your kid. Like, let's do that. I'm like, no, we can't just do that. Because he was like, no, it's fine. He's like, it's my mom's house. We're not even making anything on it. Sell it to your son. It's like, no. So I just put them in a spreadsheet with the price, the down payment, the loan type, anything else that was relevant.
Now,
And
would you have them sign that, like,
yeah,
and then upload it to Skyslope?
yep, I would go to the trouble of having that for sure. Just almost anything that I email out as an attachment, I ask them to put initials on just to kind of verify that I sent it.
Mhm.
So yeah, so we did a blind spreadsheet. Now, I had insider knowledge. I knew what this seller was going to want to see. I knew what was important to him. So I wrote the best offer for my son.
Yeah, but if a buyer's agent were to call and say what's important to the seller,
I would have answered
it would have answered exactly.
100%.
Yep.
Yes.
So if the buyer's agent didn't call and didn't ask those questions, that's on them.
Correct. Correct. And what was important to this seller was he didn't want to clean the place out.
Mhm.
It was kind of a mess. And he was like, I don't want to spruce it up. Like, mom's got some old furniture that she's not taken with her. I don't want to move that. So if a buyer's agent had called me and said, what's important, I would have told them, like, if you will accept it with some personal property, that would go a long way. Nobody called and asked.
Which
So,
goes back to the class that I taught at the Uptown brokerage last year.
yep.
Covered all that stuff in my class. So
Yeah, ask the questions. Ask the questions. Nobody called me. They just wrote offers, and my offer was not the highest, and
but it was the best.
it was the best. And I put it in the spreadsheet and I said, let's go over each one of these and you can pick. And the things he liked about it were they were taking it not as is. We were still doing an inspection, et cetera, but we did not check the boxes on the 22D for personal property and cleaning. We just left them blank. Everybody else checked those boxes as we normally do. And so that was the winning offer. So again, I think I did okay, dual agency wise in that one as well.
Yeah.
I don't feel like anybody could circle back to me and say, oh, you gave your client an unfair advantage. I mean, maybe somebody could, but I think I did it all right. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, this is just probably a rhetorical question, but you can't advise your son, or did you cover that? You can't say, yeah, she'd take $400. Like, you have to basically hold those cards when you're dealing with the two clients, right? You can't advise them, hey, if you can make I got 3 other offers from other brokerages. If you can come in at $400, she'll pick yours. You cannot do that, right?
You can absolutely do that if your seller says it's okay to share that info.
Got it. All right. Thank you.
And can do it with every agent who calls. There are some agents who do that and they And there are some agents who get really upset by it. But we had this happen at my old brokerage, and one of my agents was like, "I'm filing an ethics complaint." I'm like, "You can't. It's not an ethical." She was the buyer's agent. She wrote her offer for $500,000, 20% down, conventional loan. They got another offer. The listing agent reached out to everybody who had shown the house, as we do, to say, "Hey, if your client's interested, we now have multiple offers. We're setting a deadline for Monday at 2." Here's what she added that we don't usually add. The offer to beat is $500,000 conventional with a 20% down.
Hmm.
And so my agent, Haley, at the time was like, she's forcing me to bid against myself because now somebody's going to come in and write it for 501 and they'll get it. And she's like, "Oh, I want to file an ethics complaint." Like, you can't. Like, if the seller says disclose that, then the agent can disclose it.
But
I
again,
don't like it, but it's a thing. It's a thing.
Yeah. One thing going back to the on the 22D, leaving the personal property and cleaned unchecked. I also drive that home by putting it on the 34, and I put it in my email.
Yep.
I always give an offer breakdown when I submit an email. I mean, when I submit an offer, I give a offer breakdown in the email, and I put it in there as well.
Yeah, and we have a template. If anybody doesn't do that and wants the template, we have kind of a cover letter template for the email that goes with an offer where you can just kind of summarize the offer. And yes, those are the kind of things that you put in there. If you're going to include a rent back, that kind of stuff, you want to highlight it for sure. So multiple offer situations seem to be rearing their head again in a certain price point. We are at an hour, and I did not mean to keep everybody this long. So I'm just going to really quickly show you something in Skyslope. So let me share my screen. We have a new home warranty partner. We used to use Jennifer Rindy, and she left the industry. And so now Destiny Vaughn is going to be our go-to. You do not have to sell home warranties. It's fine. But because we're doing a partnership with her, you do get a free home warranty on your listing. I encourage you to use this as part of your listing presentation, that as soon as you list your home with me, I'm putting a home warranty on it. So if anything goes wrong while we're listed, it'll be covered. It could be covered. I mean, you don't want to guarantee that something's covered, but just like when you do anything with a home warranty, you never want to make promises, but you want to let them know that you've got a value add. I have an added value as your listing agent that I will be you putting a home warranty on your home. That is part of it's free. Your client doesn't need to know it's free. That is something that I do for all of my listings. Like, use it, leverage it. That is something that I do for all of my clients, all of my sellers. Go ahead, Rob.
Is that something that I can do on listings that are currently live and
Yes.
active?
Yes,
Okay.
you can. So am I sharing my Skyslope screen? Does everybody see that?
Yeah.
In Skyslope, you've got a tab for working documents. In working documents, you have two places you can put forms: personal and office. If you want to put things in this personal, you upload them right here. And that means, like, it might be that you include your resume when you send out a buyer service agreement, whatever it is. If you want it in Skyslope, you can put that here under personal. Toggle it over to office docs. I am going to go in here and clean it up a little bit because we do have some old stuff in here, but I created a new folder, 2025. If you open 2025, The last two things in it are the Oregon APHW and the Washington APHW for a listing. So when you take a listing, you have this to include with your listing paperwork. All you need is the seller's name and address and their signature. Says it right over here in the green seller's coverage, complimentary during listing period. Total due $0. If you really want to leverage this, use it with every listing appointment, because there's also a spot for them to sign saying, I don't want your free home warranty, which they're not getting this with anybody else. So I say bring it to every listing appointment. And yes, you can put it on your current listings now. It is a home warranty. It does not solve every problem in the universe, but it is a little value add that you can bring and some coverage. If you want to know more about the America's Preferred Home Warranty, in that same Skyslope 2025 folder, I've got the APHW warranty.pdf, which is the whole booklet that you are welcome to familiarize with, what it covers, what it doesn't cover, etc. You can also send that to your buyer, to your seller client. But it's a value add that I have set up for us as a brokerage to try to help distinguish us on our listing appointments. And while you're in this folder of 2025, we updated our referral form. So if you are sending, or it's more about receiving, let me just open it. It's the same form, but we differentiated in the timeline. Receiving brokerage will pay the sending brokerage a referral fee of blank percent if this is closed in the next 12 months. And then you can do a different percent if it takes 2 years to close. Why? Okay, I had this situation not that long ago. I'm going to stop my share. I had this situation not that long ago. An agent gave me a referral. Lovely woman. Her name is Peg. Peg wants to buy a house. Cool. Let me show Peg some houses. I showed Peg no less than 70 houses over the span of 3 years. And finally, when Peg bought a house, I go, shit, and I owe a 30% referral on this. After I just put in 3 years of effort, like, it's a lot. It was a lot. And I reached out to the person who sent me the referral, who is a very lovely friend who now lives in Texas. And I said, you're never going to believe it. Peg is finally buying a house. And she's like, oh my God, don't pay me anything on that. She put you through the ringer. And she did not want to collect it. But technically, she was owed it. And so it is not uncommon to kind of split it up, that I will pay you whatever the referral is that we agree on. If it's kind of easy, like, I don't want to give you 30% if this person sucks the life out of me and uses all of my time. The only way that I could really think of to quantify that is put a time frame on it. So, because that's how some of this, I mean, the people who want to look at 70 houses do it over the course of at least a year. So again, you can use this referral form. You can use the Northwest MLS referral form if you prefer. But you just need to understand, as the agent taking a referral, you do have the power to put those parameters on it. So just be aware that you can do that. And so we created a form that would also help you maybe feel a little more confident in doing it, because some people might be like, well, I'm not going to tell them that because I don't want them to not send me the referral. But yeah, I mean, taking referrals is like my biggest love-hate relationship. I love getting referrals. I love it when it's just like, cool, I didn't have to lead gen and now I have this awesome client. But I have gotten a couple where it was a doozy. And then I was resentful paying the referral fee. I'm like, I'm giving you 30% of my commission for the deal that I worked the hardest on and am literally making minimum wage by the time I divide out how much time this took me. But hey, you get your 30% because you met them first. So something to think about if you take referrals is to just like, what are your guidelines going to be around how you want to do that? All right, I am sorry that we went
Question.
over. Yeah.
Question on the referral form. So I always have to do this. I always have to go back and look at one I filled out before.
Mhm.
So the sending office is the one sending the lead or
Yes.
sending the referral.
Hold on. The receiving brokerage is the one receiving the referral.
The lead, not the
Yes.
referral piece of the commission.
The
Yes.
receiving brokerage is receiving the referral, receiving the lead, and will receive the commission, and then has to pay a referral fee.
To the sending
To
brokerage.
the sending brokerage being the one who sent you the referral. Even though, I mean, human English language, you are sending them a referral fee.
Right.
Everybody's
That's why I was
receiving
asking
and
for that.
sending.
Yes,
in this
everybody
scenario.
is, but it's
Yeah.
like when I sit down to fill it out, it's like, okay, I just gave them my lead because they moved there. So they're gonna, I'm sending them the lead, but they're gonna send me back a referral later
Yes.
on when it closes. And it's just always like, when I read it, I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
So-
So one of the ways that I can remember that is that you're only talking about receiving and sending the lead on this form because it might not even
Okay.
turn into a deal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're sending the lead, we're receiving the lead. It's not a referral or money yet. It's not a referral
Right.
payment yet. It's not a commission yet. So just kind of a little context for it there.
Thank you. That will help me remember it. And I
So
knew
we
Mark-
covered a lot of stuff, and I recorded this. I'm going to post it so that everybody else can hopefully take a look at it. Let me know what I can do for you for the rest of this month. We're halfway through March, more than halfway through March already. We're about to be in the second quarter of 2025, which just feels like a fucking time warp to me.
Mhm.
So yeah, everybody is struggling. If you're looking at your numbers, feeling crappy about yourself, stop. Just stop, because it's not you. It's not us, it's them. Yeah,
It's
just
one of the only ways we can actually compare ourselves and feel good about the comparison. Like I
I
try not
mean,
to compare,
it
but
is.
we're all in the same boat right
We're
now.
all in the same boat. That all the big dogs are in the same boat with us. And it's a really good time for us to really focus on hammering out our value proposition, our individuality. My big thing right now, and I won't get political, but like I am very focused on using my dollars in meaningful ways. Like I don't want to support Amazon anymore. Hard habit to break. Hard habit to break. I don't want to support Target. Hard habit to break. I want to buy local. I want to shop local. I want to support mom and pop stores that are going to go under without community support. And you guys, we are them. Like we are them. And when I talk to people that are like, I'm looking for an agent, and then they're also a farmer's market girly, like, oh yeah, I don't big box. I don't shop big box. I buy at the farmer's market, but I'm listing my house with Keller Williams. And I'm like, okay, there's a disconnect there that I am taking as my personal differentiator right now. And really, I mean, you can too. Like, this is what differentiates us. When we say shop local and support the mom and pops, our brokerage is the shop local and the mom and pop. If you're going to list your house with Keller Williams, Godspeed, have fun, whatever. I don't care. But do a deep dive. Go on, Carly knows the website. I don't know. Keller Williams is a huge nationwide company. They make enough contribution politically that it's registered. Go see. Are you supporting a company that supports your causes or is against your causes? I mean, that's all we can do, whichever side of the political spectrum you're on. All you can do is impact your local community for the most part. I can't fly to DC. I don't have a private jet. And even if I did, nobody's going to listen to me. But I can stop spending money at places that contribute to things that hurt people in my family. So if you're looking for a little value proposition differentiator, hone in on we are Clark County. Your dollars are staying in your community. Literally, they're not going anywhere else. Whether you're an agent who says, I'm like all about the local community, but I give 20% of my commission to EXP. Disconnect.
Yeah.
There's a disconnect. Nobody's talking about it. It's my new platform. Sorry, didn't mean to go on. But I know at least 2 people on this call are in the same boat. And I'm like, I want to say use it to your advantage, but that's not the word. The word is leverage. Leverage what you have. Leverage it as something that you can use to stand out in the market. As I said to everybody on this call, because every person you meet knows a dozen realtors. Easy. Because the bar is so low. Everybody's got a fucking real estate license. So use what you can to leverage. And when you see opportunities where you're like, oh, I think that's something we should lean into, tell me. Like, I'm looking for all of the items that I can bring to the table for us to leverage, like the home warranty. So when you hear about those opportunities, please call me, text me, whatever, because I want to really put as much value on the table for our little tribe as I can. So, okay. Thank you for hanging in there, and I will see you next time.
Really quick.
Yeah,
I need
yeah,
help.
yeah.
I'm sorry. I need
No,
help.
you're good.
I have a client a seller that wants an open house Saturday, and I'm not available. It's 550 price point in Vancouver. If it's come on. It's all blurry. Sorry. I don't know why my phone's not focusing.
Just give me the MLS number and I'll post it in the think tank.
Okay, perfect. All right. Sounds good. So we'll do.
Saturday open house. Is it relatively new, or is it like, are we going to anticipate some traffic? Because that's been another problem, is people are like, nobody wants to do my open house. Like, because your listing's overpriced and nobody wants to look at it.
It's been on the market 10 days.
Perfect.
And the MLS number is 442.
That's what Robert's listening.
Oh, sorry. 442-560-974.
All right. I will post it. And yeah, we have some people that make their bread and butter is open houses. So I hope somebody will grab it. But yeah. Anybody else have a need, a have, or a want for a client? I still have my Megalopolis Casinola listing in Camas. If you know anybody looking for a really unique home in Camas, send them my way. Yeah.
I also have a manufactured home, a triple wide in a 55 plus community.
Which one?
It is, it's the one it's on First Street, just off 164th by Park Rose Hardware. and that one's 239.9. It's a triple wide, huge. It's super nice. Attached garage. I'm like, dang, yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing. And then later today, I'll also have a listing. Once the photos come in, I'll have a listing in Battleground go live. It's perfect first time home buyer territory. 465. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home. It is square footage is 1456. It backs up to a green space. So
Are you doing open houses at that one?
yes, on Sunday, because that's
Okay.
the only day I'm available for them, and just that one is wants it on Saturday. So, and I
And
can't.
then are you doing an open at your manufactured?
I am. That's already been scheduled, 11 to 1.
Perfect. Okay.
The Battleground one will most likely, it's not confirmed, most likely be 2 to 4.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah. Because like I said, we have people that want to do open houses. So I'll make sure
Do
to put
them.
those out there.
Do them.
For the 550 one, the Battleground one. Yeah.
Yeah. The in fact, the Battleground one and the one that I need an open house for, I picked these people up from an open house. They're combined households, and buying their budget is like 1.1, 1.2. So
Yeah.
open houses, you pick up people.
100%. Yep. All right, everybody. Take care, and I will talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
So I was